I want to thank everybody for being here today, this Tuesday, January 11th, 2022, for our meeting of the Pitt County Department of Social Services Board. This is a totally virtual meeting today, so bear with us. We are all meeting virtually today. As tradition, what we're going to do is we're going to start today's meeting by observing a moment of silent prayer or silent meditation. So, okay, thank you. Susan, I do believe we have a quorum, looking at our roster.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Will we be doing attendance call?
Yeah, let's do.
Okay, Chair Cox,
Present?
Vice Chair Nelson. She's muted, but I saw her lips move.
We need your help
Present.
today, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bunch
Present.
and Mr. Dancy.
Present.
I do not see Miss Commissioner Perkins Williams in on the call.
No, I don't either. So thank you for that, Susan. And again, we need your support and guidance today as we go through this. So thank you very much. And I want to thank Dr. Frazier and Susan for putting this all together today. We were back and forth in terms of the format a number of times. They hung with us and we were able to pull this off. So I appreciate that. So Susan, we have anybody for public comment?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. So next on our agenda is to adopt today's or revise today's agenda. Any revisions? If not, if I could have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Catherine. And I can have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dancy. And Susan, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Chair Cox,
Approved.
Vice Chair Nelson,
Approved.
Dr. Bunch,
Approved.
Mr. Dancy.
Approved.
All
Thank you.
approved.
Thank you, Susan. And let's do the same with the previous minutes. You all should have received your packet, and so we'll need a motion if there's no revisions or additions to the minutes. If we could have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Bunch. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Catherine. And if you could call the roll, Susan.
Chair Cox,
Approve?
Vice Chair Nelson,
Approved.
Dr. Bunch,
Approved.
Mr. Dancy.
Approved.
Thank you again, Susan. Okay, first on our agenda today, we have one item for consent, and I'm going to look to Dr. Frazier to present that item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item is on page 6 in your packages. The department received $1,519,699 in cash money for the LEA program. This is part of the APRA funding that we received. It's going to help families directly for their utilities in terms of gas, wood, or oil. And families who have children between the ages of 0 and 10 years, and those who have benefited from the food and nutrition program of last year will automatically qualify for this funding. That funding will be directly paid into their account, and we can directly call them and inform them of those payments. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Frazier. Any questions for Dr. Frazier? And I see on here, Augustine, there's no additional county funds in this? Is that
No
correct?
additional county funds. This is directly from the state or the federal through the APRA funds.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I will need a motion to approve this recommendation, this consent item.
So moved.
Catherine, thank you. A
Second.
second? Thank you, Dr. Bunch. And Susan, could you please call the roll?
Chair Cox,
Approve.
Vice Chair Nelson,
Approved.
Dr. Bunch,
Approved.
Mr. Dancy.
Approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Augustine. Okay, moving on to items for report. We're going to hear from Brian regarding, well, Brian, I'll let you lead into that with the acronyms.
Okay, good afternoon. I'll start with the LIWAP program, which is the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. Pitt County's allocation is $391,377. And as of today, we had approved 34 households and 38 households have been denied. But I will point out that the large majority of those denials were because people applied in December who did not have a water crisis at the time. And at the previous meeting, we talked about that December was designated for households that had past due accounts or the water had been turned off. But now that we're in January, if the household meets the income requirements for the program, those households can receive assistance. So the ratio of applications being approved now to the denials is much higher as we move along in the program. So we encourage people that are interested in this program to apply. And as I mentioned previously, the income guidelines for this program are 150% of poverty, whereas the low income energy assistance program is 130% of poverty. And so some households that may not qualify for energy assistance through LEAP may apply through the water assistance program and may qualify. I'll move on to the low income energy assistance program, which is LEAP. Pitt County's allocation of regular LEAP for this fiscal year is $1,158,337. And as of January 11th, we had $608,037 left. The automated payments for households with individuals age 60 and over, we had 1,403 households that will be receiving assistance through those automated payments. And those payments came out of the regular LEAP funding. That's why we went from 1.158 million to 608,000 within a matter of just a few weeks. The pandemic LEAP allocation from the ARPA funds that Dr. Frazier referred to, that's 1,519,699. As of January 7th, the state office had released 1/2 of that allotment to us. So 759,850 was released on January 7th. And I'll reflect that in my report next month.
Thank you, Brian.
And there have been 635 households identified who received the assistance in last fiscal year who will receive automated payments from the pandemic funds. And those households have children up to age 10. Anybody who is receiving an automated payment, whether it be the 60 and over age group or the households with children up to age 10, have already received a notice letting them know that they do not have to apply, that this will be done through an automated process. So those notices had already gone out, and we're at the point now where once we get the reports from the state, our finance office will be able to issue the checks, which will be made payable to the energy vendors. So that's my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Brian? If not, Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward here on items for report, we're going to have a follow-up and update in terms of the holiday cheer program. When we were planning the agenda, Dr. Frazier and I thought that that would be something good that we could talk about today. So I guess we're gonna look from Chandra first, and then we'll move down the line in terms of hearing from the different participants.
Good afternoon, everyone. So holiday cheer was a success again this year, and Pitt County DSS, we would just like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the community for supporting our annual holiday cheer program. We had numerous community sponsors to partner with us during this effort, but we have some that partner with us every year. Now, we do have too many for me to name,
Okay.
but we will be giving
good thing.
everyone, right, we will be giving everyone an official thank you. But just to name a few, we had the Smith family, which is with Project F, that encompasses J.H. Rose and Eastern Elementary and members of their subdivision. We had a new person this year, Compute North from East Perry, Minnesota, Warehouser, the Bridge Foster Ministry, ECU, United Real Estate, the Knight of Columbus, the Greenville Charity Drag Brunch, Violence Pastoral Care Department, the Greenville, North Carolina Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, the Iota Kappa Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, the Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity. We had the State Employees Credit Union, Open Door Church, Ignite Church, Teddy Bear Advocacy, Matrix, the Pitt County Division of Adult Corrections, Walmart, and Maine Pharma. We also had the women of the Moose Lodge and the countless citizens of Pitt County that made monetary donations. We thank you all for fulfilling the wish list of our children in the foster care units. The community response was so great this year that we were able to provide gifts to our assessments and in-home services units as well. I would also like to take this opportunity to say thank you to our DSS staff for their countless hours of coordinating, picking up, and delivering gifts. Again, we could not have made the holiday special for our children and families without the support of the community. I would like to say that the week leading up to Christmas, I was getting emails saying that there were packages downstairs on the loading dock with my name on them. So I took the staff and we went down to the loading dock to get all these packages. We had diapers, wipes, pull-ups, coats, toboggans. We looked at every box, no sender, just from Sam's or from Children's Place. So to whoever that anonymous donor was, we are very, very, very grateful. We look forward to doing this next year, and we would just like to thank the community for their effort to partner with us. So thank you so much.
Any questions? You know, if not, we'd just like to thank you and your staff for all the effort that was put into this. And so, yeah, thank you very much. And thank the community partners that certainly participated in this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to CW and Tammy Corbett and Jennifer Stroud.
They do not like to be on screen.
Okay.
So they've sent this. I'm gonna try and share
Thank you.
and see if I can do this effectively. Can y'all see that screen?
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia.
Okay. So this is called the Adult Foster Care Holiday Project. And like Chandra, just too many people to begin to try and name. We had individual sponsors. We have some of DSS owned staff reach into their pockets. A lot of community organizations reach into their pockets, groups that do it every year. And we just couldn't do this project without them. we were able to help 160 adults this year to have a very Merry Christmas. Times have changed. We have some churches and others that weren't able to help in the way that they've done in previous years at certain facilities. And we were able, with the generous donations that we got this year, to fill in some of the gaps in the community. So it's extremely helpful for everybody who's a repeat donor and all the assistance that we receive. We have a homeschool group that comes each year and helps us wrap. So it is a large community effort, both internal and external, to get this project done. So we were able to help 160 adults. Here is my two L's that don't like to be on camera, but here they are anyway. Jennifer and Tammy, that's our people. You see the van loaded with presents from the community. And here is one of our recipients of that assistance, and just the smile on his face. Big thank you. Shout out to everybody who makes this project possible.
Thank you again, Cynthia, to you and your staff and the community that all chipped in on this. And, you know, it's just it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So any questions for Cynthia? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next on our items for report, we're going to hear about the Cdbg and the SIP. We're going to get updates, and it looks like Sonia Scott is going to do those updates.
Yes, good evening. I'll start with the Community Development Block Grant, also known as the Cdbg program.
Yes.
The total allocation for that program was $899,484. As of January 6th, we had issued $88,722, leaving a remaining balance of $810,762. So far, we've received 874 utility applications, 577 have been approved, and total eviction applications we received is 122, and we've approved 39. As of January 6th.
Sonia, one question with that grant.
Yes.
Is there a spending period for that? Do you have a time period to?
Well, we had projected early on that December 31st would be the end date, but we still have funding available. So as of now, we do not have an end date.
Okay.
For that until funds are depleted.
So you
Sonia.
can do that.
Yes.
Sonia, Jim, let me chime in on that. This is actually a 5-year grant. So
Okay.
we're starting on year 2 of it. So
Thanks.
until the funds are exhausted or that 5-year period.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Sonia, the SIP, is that a separate update?
Yes, that is a separate update, the Crisis Intervention Program.
Yes.
Our total allocation for the 2021-2022 fiscal year was $768,557. As of January 6th, we had issued $370,672.40. We have a remaining balance of $397,884.60. There have been a total of 2,192 households approved and 1,087 applications denied as of today. And denial could be that there was not an immediate need, or they qualified for some other program or had received benefits from some other program.
Thank you, Sonia. So questions for Ms. Scott? Thank you for that report. Okay, moving forward, we're going to hear now from Dr. Augustine Frazier, and he's going to deliver the interim director's report. And so, Dr. Frazier, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Bob. I sent a copy of my report. It's a 1-pager, and I also attached a flyer from Dr. Silvanel to that pager for your reference. I will start up with the COVID impact on staffing. We all know COVID is a very serious problem right now across the board. And DSS Pitt County is no exempt from this crisis. We are experiencing significant call out, significant pressure on workloads, and also there is a new problem in terms of understanding the CDC guidelines. So every day we are getting updates from Dr. Sivanel to unravel some of the languages for us. And that is helping us. We have 29 staff who are on FMLA today, coupled with a bunch of those who are on the 5 or 10 days excuse leave from COVID kind of related encounters. So what we are having is, on any given day, there is a 10 to 20% of staff across the board who are out sick or on FMLA. That is also making the vacancy rate that we have to expand and increase a whole lot. And it is creating a lot of pressure, not only on the personnel, but on staff who are managing to come by. I am working currently on a program review where I can look at gaps, and I will let the board know by the retreat or before how that is and some specific recommendations. Any questions on the COVID report?
I have a question, Dr. Frazier.
Yes, Ms. Catherine.
Are any of these team members with social services, are any of them allowed, if they have mild illness, are they allowed to do any work remotely to be able to get things done?
DSS work is a very complex work that we can look at remotely. We look at the HIPAA rules, the confidentiality rules, the gadgets, electronics, and how those we format, and the security for those systems. So there is, excuse me, a lot of components to look at before you look at remote work. That is not off the table. We are reviewing that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Medicaid transformation. The Taylor Plan Health will go into effect, as I reported last month, December 1 of this year. The state is doing a phenomenal job, always using the ombudsman and the enrollment brokers to outreach and enrich, not only to the population, but also to DSS, who are stakeholders in this rollout. There is currently a public statewide function going on from January 6th through January 27th. That is being sponsored daily by the DHHS. As far as I know as of today, the rollout date of December 1 is still on track for the Medicaid transformation. Any questions on that? Okay, I will go over to the vacancy report. The report I sent to the board was 42 vacancies. Please correct that to 44 as of today.
So which report are you talking about, Dr. Frazier?
Vacancy report, I sent it's a one-pager.
Yes.
If you look through the one-pager, the very first line, there are 42 vacancies currently. I want the board to correct that to 44.
So you're moving around on your report.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So as I said to the board in my COVID analysis, Here you can see how the COVID is also impacting our vacancies. We know people are making a lot of career decisions based on this COVID and options they have for both their families and for themselves. So we are struggling very seriously to find qualified candidates to hire. I spoke with the board chair briefly, but I am putting together a plan which we may implement if approved to see how we can lure in potential employees who are qualified and keep those who are also working with us. So we have 8 frozen positions. 6 of those are in interview, 15 are in advertisement, 4 are in background checks, 11 are in screening phases. As of our last meeting, we have 0 we have filled so far. Any questions on the vacancy report?
Yes, Dr. Frazier, I do.
Yes.
In terms of those, and I'm looking at the report now, in terms of those 44 vacancies, roughly, can you tell us where within the organization they fall, or do you have that information available?
I do not, but I can tell you what I have for child services. They have 13 vacancies right now.
In children's services?
Correct. Ms. Susan, is that correct?
That sounds about right. If you'll give me 1 second, I'll pull up the report.
All right. Let us clean that up, Chair, if you can.
While she's doing that, Dr. Frazier, I saw in your report too, that this is happening across the state. Is that correct?
Correct. Across the state and across the country. I have polled some of my colleagues across the DSS, and they are also expressing the same frustration in terms of turnovers and difficulty in hiring. So while Ms. Susan is looking at that, we have a 5% turnover in our last quarter from this October to December of 2021. I will review the strategic employment attraction program for the board to review either against the retreat or before that as it pleases. Ms. Susan, did you find that? No?
Yes, sir. It's 14 vacancies in child welfare. There's 3 in adult services at this time. And we have about 18 in economic support services, which would be the eligibility programs. Those would be our 2 biggest gaps or holes.
Thank you, Ms. Susan. Any additional questions or clarifications?
Well, again, I think the point is, Dr. Frazier, is that, I mean, given those vacancies, along with, staff that are out for various reasons, it's a very challenging time.
Right.
And so I think it's important for the board to understand that.
Yes.
Dr. Frazier, this is Catherine. What types of things do you do for retention? And my other question is, do we do exit interviews to understand why they're leaving?
I have been here for a little bit more than my fingers can count. But what I have seen is we do have an exit interview, but it is not public. So we don't know how we can utilize that for staffing retention. That's a practice maybe we can start and we can look at it. We follow the county's retention policy in terms of whatever they are doing right now to maintain our retention of our current staffing pool. Those are part of my analysis that I am doing to bring to the board in the retreat.
Dr. Frazier.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is Sheila Bunch. Does Pitt County offer sign-on bonuses?
Not at this time, not that I know of, but I can certainly dig into that question for you and get an official response against our next meeting, or I can send an email to you later tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any further questions?
So Dr. Frazier, are you going to continue with your report, or is that the?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to continue. I just,
Yeah.
I do, because it's a long report, I don't want to lose the trend. So therefore, after every one, I'm asking the board to ask specific clarifications.
Yes. Well, I understand that.
You
Dr. Frazier,
Yes, sir.
I wanted to answer Dr. Bunch's question. We do not offer sign-on bonuses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. I appreciate that. Budget planning. Management received all budget requests, were proposals from each of the units. We are working on it, and I spoke briefly to Mr. Burnett, who is the finance guru for the county, and Ms. Hertz and I are working on the fine numbers. Hopefully, by the end of the month, we may have a fair idea where we are. We are still struggling to look at the number of requests and the number of vacancies and the problems we are having to fill those vacancies and asking for more. So we are split in between those very small loops. But Ms. Hart and I are constantly reviewing this, and we can get back to this board as soon as we have a compromise. Any questions on the budget?
Yeah, I was just thinking, Dr. Frazier, that, giving the number of vacancies, again, it's just it sounds like it's a complex planning process in terms of the vacancies in recruitment. So,
yeah. Strategic plan. The current strategic plan is scheduled to run out by June 2022. I am going to give you guys a report on that strategic plan. However, I am seeking permission from this board to give either for a 5-year or a 10-year strategic plan proposal for the division. I am asking for that to be approved so that my committee will be able to look at this and draw up our strategic goals for the next 5 or 10 years. Finally, I want to give some good news to the board. We just received our reader reports for November. I am happy, extremely happy to report we scored 100% accuracy, 0% error, 100% internal control. That is huge. Thank you to Brian, thank you to Thomas, thank you to Teresa for your team's work. I really, really appreciate that. The other good news is we just got awarded a report that we are a safe workplace from the Department of Labor. today. So this goes to the testament of staff and you guys for allowing this to happen. Thank you. That's
Thank
all
you.
of my report. Any questions?
I do, Dr. Frazier.
Yes.
So you made comment about the strategic plan and looking towards the board for some guidance on that. Could you speak a little bit more about that so we understand
Yes.
that?
The board has to give authority to look at the next strategic plan to allow the director or deputy director or whoever to begin to draft the strategic plan, which has to be approved by you guys after the completion of that strategic plan. So I am seeking permission for me to be able to initiate a committee that will look at this so that we can draft a strategic plan for you guys to revisit against June. Because technically by June, we are running out of any metrics that we can measure at based on our current strategic plan.
Right. So the other thing is that it's been a while since we had an update with the strategic plan too.
Correct.
So, so I think there are two factors there. Certainly, we don't want to get behind the ball in terms of planning, but also in terms of an evaluation of where we are with what we have. Does that sound reasonable?
It does. I did speak to Ms. Jan before she left. We were compiling some of these in skeleton. The numbers, I don't have all of them because the data person who is tracking the strategic goals is currently out. As soon as I get him back in the office, I can report to you guys on our current strategic plan.
Okay. Yeah, so would a plan be, would people be in agreement to maybe put that on our agenda for next month? And then once we see that, moving forward with the planning of the 2022 forward plan, is that something that, any discussion on that? Does that sound reasonable?
I think so, Jim. I remember when we had our planning retreat a few years back, and that was very helpful. When we had the department chairs speak to their areas and their needs and their goals. And I think that, I think moving forward, Dr. Frazier, when we are planning and you're developing, I guess, a draft plan for us to kind of look at, I would like to think that you might need to do some of the planning in the context of the challenges you're having with staffing.
Yes, ma'am.
And COVID, since it's probably going to end up being an endemic type of situation that could be impacting, you know, these types of things moving forward, and even having more families that we need to take care of. So anyway, I was just, that was kind of my thinking is, you know, what we're dealing with now is a lot different than what we did 5-10 years ago. And our environment is so different.
I agree with you, Ms. Spencer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Catherine, for that. Other comments? You know,
Speaking of staffing, Jim, did we have, going back to the beginning of the agenda, did we have any recognitions of new hires or service awards or retirees?
Yes. We have.
I'm sorry, guys. I think I must have skipped over that.
That's okay.
Sorry, Dr. Bunch. You're my.
We have one new staff, Latoya Coleman, in the permanency planning division. Is Latoya on this line, on the call?
No, sir.
Okay.
Was she on it in the beginning, Susan?
No, sir.
Okay, please give her my apologies if she was.
She's in lots of training right now.
Thank you, Susan.
We also have some recognition for a 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 years recognition. I will start with the 5-year category. Virginia B. Garris, Abby Dalton Patrick, Shavronda Perkins Altman, Selma Ann Staton. For the 10-year group, you have Belinda Harris Bella. 15-year group, Deborah Contona Grain, Bongerard Jacobs, Keisha R. Jones, Kimberly J. Patrick. For the 20-year group, Victoria L. Banfield, Sharon B. Jones, Kendra J. Novell. And the 25-year group, Denise Moore Jones, Diana Weaver. Thank you, Dr. Bunch, for bringing us back. Thank you, Chair.
It takes a village. I appreciate
Yes, it does.
You know, in this, prior to that, I was thinking about our strategic plan and, you know, our annual retreat, you know, and given some of the challenges, I know that we had talked about holding off on our annual retreat. And I just want to throw this out for discussion. You know, given the challenges that we're having right now in terms of staffing, recruitment, I know that Dr. Frazier has put some thought and time into maybe developing an approach to that he wanted to present to the board. We had said that we wanted to put off our planning retreat, you know, while we're in this, the recruitment process and that. But I just want to throw that out for discussion. You know, given the urgency of this situation, is that something we want to wait on? And that we could focus maybe our retreat upon some of the things that you've talked about, Catherine, and some of the things that Dr. Frazier wants to present to the board.
I think that's fine. I think we can do, I think we can definitely do this remotely and discuss and you know, have discussions about the ways that we can keep our team members with DSS engaged and retained and in the midst of this pandemic, and because they are the core of what goes on at DSS. And if we don't have them, it's very hard to carry out the goals and strategies of a strategic plan. We got to have a good workforce. So I say move forward. Let's have a retreat, you know, if we have to, maybe a half a day or something.
Other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with that. I think we need to consider this probably sooner than later. I mean, I understand there is issues with job seekers wide. I think it's a much bigger discussion. There's a lot of factors going into this, not just the fact that people are unhappy with work or salaries. There's a lot of other factors going into that. I mean, I'm constantly reading and studying what's going on with the workforce. I mean, that's what I do every day. And so I think we definitely need to probably talk sooner than later.
I would agree, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, given the significance and the urgency of the situation, I think that, you know, to move forward with that discussion, I think would be the responsible thing to do. And Dr. Frazier, how much, I know that we've talked a little bit about some of your ideas. Would you be prepared next month to, you know, to look at, you know, possibly, you know, having a retreat in lieu of this meeting and scheduling that? Could we do that? Or what's your thoughts on that?
I am ready tomorrow. because I have already talked to my team. I met with the management team, I think last week, and I spoke to individually each of the PAs, program administrators, and I know where their head is, and I know where their heart is. I just need to put together the verbiage so that it is clean and readable. I can't be ready by next month because we are in a very serious, urgent position right now. And we need to make very serious and very hard decisions against most of what we do to make sure that kids are safe, families are safe, and we are provided the care necessary. If this trend continues, we are in a bind and it's serious. So I applaud you guys for taking it seriously, and I'll be ready definitely to meet with you guys and put my proposals and half of what my team would take.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that, Dr. Fraser. So maybe what we can do is you and I can talk, and typically what we've done is we've maybe scheduled this meeting, help me folks, a couple hours early, and started it maybe at 1 o'clock and gone through 4 o'clock or something like that. Scheduled a 3-hour block. I don't know what the world is going to look like next month. Catherine, you may have an insight into that. I don't know. But we had started out this meeting looking at hybrid, and that changed rapidly. And I applaud everybody for making that switch. But I'm in agreement. I think the urgency is there, and I'm sure every day it's a challenge, given the numbers that you have provided us, Dr. Fraser. So let's you and I work on that, and we can send it out. I guess we could do it virtually, and maybe think about, again, not knowing what the world's going to look like in a month. So, but let's plan on that maybe for next month if people are in agreement to that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was good discussion. Okay, moving forward, Mr. Dancy and Dr. Bunch, you want to give us an update on director's recruitment?
Yes, as you know, we extended the director's position search. It's now closed, and Pitt County's Human Resources Department has forwarded applications to Raleigh. We're hoping that we'll get those applications and candidates back from Raleigh in the upcoming weeks. Our search committee is still intact, so they're standing by just awaiting guidance once we receive the actual eligible candidates back from Raleigh.
And Daron, in terms of a timeline, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I'm just thinking about the timeline of this process. Do you have any thoughts about that?
It would be great if we could get the eligible candidates back from Raleigh by the end of January. I certainly think that's reasonable. But again, there's these factors that obviously come into play that are out of our control. So my goal or my plan is to hopefully have them back by the end of January from Raleigh. And at that point, we would then go through the next phase of the selection process.
Okay. So that, thinking about our February board meeting, probably not be prepared to do anything at that point. Is that your thought?
Yeah, no, nothing significant. Okay. At that point, we'll probably have the candidates, and then we'll start the second phase. Hopefully I would love to have started the second phase by next board meeting, which I, again, think is very reasonable. But I don't think there's going to be anything major for me to be able to report back on, other than, yes, we've now entered the second phase of the selection.
Thank you, Daron. Yeah, I was just thinking about our planning for the retreat, and I think we have a number of priorities going on, and I think that just kind of falls into place. So I appreciate that. We look forward to to hearing back from that. Any questions for either Mr. Dancy or Dr. Bunch? Okay, if not, let me see. I'm trying to make sure I don't skip over anything again here. Dr. Bunch, you look after me here. So that pretty much concludes our agenda other than board member comments. And I'm going to open it up to board member comments.
I'll start by saying to Dr. Frazier, just stay the course. I do think you may want to consider thinking outside the box. I know the county's kind of set in the way you guys do business with your recruiting and hiring. May want to consider things like radio spots, different type of marketing things that may spotlight the pros of county benefits, different things like that. I just think you may want to start thinking outside the box of the way you normally would do HR business with the county. And I'm not sure if you guys recruit, spider recruit, which means post jobs on other web boards, which ultimately has to come back to the county website. But I would encourage you to look at options and flexibility when you're now that you're starting to feel the real crunch that's out there now.
There is a process to advertise, and I can definitely talk to HR to see if we can diversify our options to make sure we attract, more pool, so we'll see.
Yeah, and then you could also have your own virtual job site. May want to consider doing that as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that's exciting conversation, Daron, and certainly with your expertise in that, I think that's those types of things, I think in terms of a retreat, I mean, pulling our heads together and offering support and ideas, I really like that. So I appreciate that. We all appreciate that. Anybody else?
Chairman, I would also like to piggyback on what Mr. Dance is saying in terms of advertising. I think it would be good to highlight the positive work that DSS workers engage in. There's so many myths out there about what it's like to work at DSS. And so just the reports that we've had today around the holiday cheer and that kind of thing, I think it would be very beneficial to do little snippets about the rewarding work that takes place in such a complex organization. And I don't know if that could be by some sort of social media blitz, Facebook, the advertisement channel, the county channel that we have, Twitter. Look, I don't know Twitter, but people who might be interested, like younger employees may be interested in that kind of thing. So I agree with thinking out of the box. I always say you're not a real social worker until you worked at a Department of Social Services. If you can maneuver that organization, you can do anything. And so I think we do need to think out of the box. Maybe some T-shirts or something. I don't know.
Thank you, Dr. Bunch. Catherine, do you have anything?
Yes, I just wanted to say, I think we need to consider, as we move forward, I totally agree with what Dr. Bunch was saying. We're going to have to get creative. And I think we also need to consider the generations that we have that are applying for jobs now. They want different things. They have different ideas about a job in DSS, but I also think that we can, I think it would be great to have like success stories and highlight, maybe just kind of highlight points of pride every month. and maybe our PIO could put it into some kind of televised commercial type thing that it just runs over and over, and it gets people listening. It's got to reach the right population for us to attract people and try to retain them. So I definitely agree. We've got to use as many avenues. We've got to get creative. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. I agree with everything that was said, and I think we have an opportunity here, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to next month in terms of the retreat. I'll work with Dr. Frazier in terms of pulling that together, and I have some thoughts in terms of maybe some way to involve some other people in terms of things. I don't know. I need to think through that a little bit too, but I think it was a good meeting today, and I appreciate everybody's input. I know it's a very challenging time, and I appreciate everything that everybody's doing, and I say that sincerely. So,
one more thing, Mr. Cox, prior to adjournment, I think we should also give a shout out to the people who come to work every day, who hold it together, the folks who have those service awards, the longevity in the organization, because right now, they are the glue that's holding things together. And I think we should, show our appreciation to those folks as well.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. As we think back, I think in times past, the department's role is to serve the most vulnerable population amongst us. And we truly have champions that work there. And I agree with everything that you say, Dr. Bunch. So I think that's a great shout out. And I think that's a good way to end the meeting. So I appreciate that too. And if anybody else have any final comments?
I move that we adjourn.
Did I have a second?
Second.
And I guess Susan, one last time.
Chair Cox,
Agree?
Vice Chair Nelson,
Agree.
Dr. Bunch,
You're muted, Dr. Budge.
Sorry, agree.
Mr. Dancy.
Agree.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.